Hello everyone, welcome to SYNTHFOX channel. I'm Obrilis, and today I will be presenting you my new module called Delta T. Delta T is an audio delay. Like many other delay guitar pedals and modules, it's based on the notorious PT2399 delay chip. And while it does carry the trademark combination of lush and janky of the PT2399, it goes well beyond the typical delay module functionality. In this video, I will overview Delta T and its main features and provide some examples of usage. This big white knob sets the initial delay time. The LED under it indicates the current exact delay time. It can be modulated with an external signal via the TCV or time control voltage jack and its associated attenuator. Delta T has two audio inputs. The first input has an attenuator, or more simply just a volume knob. The second audio input does not have a volume control and passes at full volume. The feedback control is located under the input 1 attenuator and sets the number of delay repeats. Delta T's feedback loop is broken out to these two jacks, feedback output and feedback input. An external sound processor such as the Sledgehammer can be put between these two for interesting results. The CLK, or clock output jack, outputs the delay tap clock. It is synchronous to what the LED shows. This output can be used, for example, to drive a sequencer or trigger an envelope. The out jack is Delta T's main output, and it's the blend of the input signals and their processed delayed version. The blend control sets the proportion of the mixture and can be externally controlled through an attenuated BCV or blend control voltage input. Now that I talked about the controls, let's hear how it sounds. Here I put the output of the Delta T directly to the system output. I use the degenerator running the string firmware as a source of sharp percussive sound. It's being triggered and pitch modulated by the two halves of the 2CK. The delay time ranges from tens of milliseconds to approximately 1 second. I made the previous patch just a little bit more complex by throwing in a Doppler random value generator. Now the 2CK clocks the random value generator and it triggers and pitch modulates the degenerator. I'm going to demonstrate the voltage control capabilities of Delta T using this demo patch, starting with the time parameter. I'm using a simple sine LFO to control the time. It's easy to scale it to taste with the attenuator. Although both the time control and the blend control circuits are Vectral based, they can handle low audio rate modulations in addition to the usual slower CV rate modulations. Now I'm going to take the uniform distributed random output and patch it to Delta T's BCV input. This will randomly modulate the proportion of the dry sound and the delayed sound. Now I'd like to turn additional attention towards the delta T's CLK or clock output. It can be used to clock sequencers or trigger envelopes, but could as well be used for less trivial purposes. I'm using this passive mult to copy the clock to both the random value generator clock input and the audio input of the VCF on the row above. The VCF is almost self-oscillating, and its output is fed to the delta T audio input 1. This way, the delay pings the filter each time it taps, and the organic bongo-like sound produced by the filter arrives back to the delta T exactly at the tap speed. It may not even be obvious from the first glance that a delay is used in this patch right now. This sort of patch generates weird, pitch-shifted overtones around the initial sound, which I find really interesting. And of course, this is just one of the many ways to creatively use the delta T's CLK output. Now I'm going to take the uniform random output and patch it to the delta T TCV input. Attenuate it to taste, and we get a generative patch around the delay itself. Each delay tap's length is defined by the random value, which is in its turn refreshed by the delta T clock output. I assembled a slightly more complicated patch out of the previous one's ideas. A random gate triggers the degenerator's string that goes to delta T's second audio input. Another random gate pings a resonant VCF that's also being frequency modulated by a random voltage, and it goes to the first input of delta T. I'm turning the feedback knob right now. While we can set it manually, there is no built-in control voltage for the feedback amount, but the feedback loop itself is broken out at the bottom of the module. We could use an audio processor to act as a voltage-controlled volume knob for us, and I have just the thing for it, called the sledgehammer. I take the feedback loop output and patch it to the sledgehammer third input. Then I take the sledgehammer gate output and patch it to the feedback loop input. This way I close the feedback loop. Now each delay tap, starting from the first one, is getting passed through the sledgehammer and back to delta T. Opening and closing the sledgehammer now causes a different length of the feedback tail. And of course, since it's voltage controlled, we could use a modulation source such as an LFO and use it to control the feedback dynamically. Notice how the feedback tail grows and fades according to these LEDs right there. Of course, the sledgehammer is not a VCA, so not only does it affect the length of the feedback tail, but also it affects its color, making it more dull and closed. The simple trick could be used to make the feedback tail sound richer and more colorful than when the feedback loop is closed via the built-in default direct route. I encourage you to try putting different things into the loop. A bandpass VCF could be a really powerful color enhancement tool in this case. Or maybe try a distortion or a pitch shifter. Who knows what will happen? Go and find out! I have covered the main features of delta T and showed a few of the many possible ways to use it in a patch. Thank you for joining me today in this overview video. Delta T is a great and versatile delay module. It features a big time knob and a handy attenuator for the time CV input, voltage-controlled dry-wet blend setting, a feedback loop broken out to the front panel to include external audio processors into it, as well as a handy input mix downstage. Find out more about delta T through the links in the video description, and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you wish to stay updated on SYNTHFOX news and overviews. I've been Aubrey of SYNTHFOX, thank you for watching this video, and see you next time.